Hey everyone. So when I think about my experience with um, Christian media consumption, and just kind of what it's been like to grow up in this culture with so much consumerism, and freedom of religion and all that sort of stuff, and like one of the first things that comes to my mind is like I've always been deeply impacted by Christian music. I think it's something that like I've always thought was just like, normal. And it wasn't until like I started going to a public school when I was in fifth grade that I realized that like listening to Caleb and well, I actually grew up listening to IWU's radio station, The Fortress. Um, it wasn't until I went to public school that I realized that like that's not normal for people. And I can't even imagine like what it's like in other countries where, Christian music, is probably less, less popular or whatever. But like I remember I always enjoyed going to this thing called the Pulse Festival, which was I believe was like up in South Bend or somewhere. I was pretty small, so I don't remember where it was, but it was like an outdoor festival, kind of like a winter jam sort of thing. And then going to winter jam and just going to different music things, and like my favorite band growing up was Skillet, and so like I always loved going and seeing Skillet and Toby Mac and Newsboys and all that stuff. And just like the fact that like I have like I actually have like even Switchfoot, like I actually have like an autographed poster with all those guys signing my poster, and like it was like one of the coolest things for me growing up. And I remember like when I was in high school I would start to write uh some sermon, like I started when I started getting really into like ministry and that sort of like started really making faith my own. I actually started writing down like different sermons in like a little notebook that I had just because I thought it was kind of fun. And almost all of my sermons were inspired by some sort of song I heard on Caleb. And when I think about like some of the most spiritual times, like the deepest meetings I've had with the Lord, a lot of them were actually in my car, listening to Caleb at nighttime. Like, I don't know why, that's always just been really relaxing for me. Um, and but at the same time, it's like another example of that Christian media. And yeah, I've actually, it's kind of funny because there's a new song, I can't remember who sings it, but it's called like Parking Lot, and it talks about this idea of I met Jesus in a parking lot, and it literally like almost perfectly describes like um kind of like what happened to me a lot of the time. So I would definitely say that Christian music was the main way that like I was affected, and impacted through Christian media. I didn't do like a ton of reading, but like I was always super intrigued by like I grew up in Marion, so Tree of Life back when it was Tree of Life and not Slingshot. It used to be a bookstore. And I always loved going because they had a kids section that had like toys, like VeggieTales stuff, and so I'd always go there. And I actually, matter of fact, like another thing that was really big for me was I had VeggieTale toys, like literally like little. I don't know if you can call them action figures since they don't got like limbs or anything, but um, I had like VeggieTales toys. My mom was a children's pastor, um, well, is still a children's pastor, and so she has like all sorts of like that sort of material, like VeggieTale. Like we had every single VeggieTale episode and all that stuff, and it was just like cool. It was so cool to like be able to watch that, and really, it really impacted me. Um, I remember the episode about the boogeyman, like God is bigger than the boogeyman. And like that was a pretty big deal for me because would get like I was prone to have night terrors when I was little, and so just like learning that God is bigger than all that was like a big thing, and I learned that like from VeggieTales. And so like that's I don't know, that's just like a cool part of my little story. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'm excited to hear about some of the ways that you guys have been impacted by Christian media.